Hey guys, M.K.S here, back with another video. Hope everyone's well and I won't make embarrassing mistakes like in my last video. Obviously this is part 2 of that, so if you haven't checked it out, I don't know if I should be saying you to check it out because it was embarrassing, so I hope it won't have any more slips of the tongue or whatever. But yeah, so I'll say this is part 2, and I wrote some lists of my plans as well on Facebook, like on my status, whatever you call it, and also to some of my friends. But I thought I'd try and do it, like cover a few different things with each list I make, rather than say the same things. But obviously it's a little bit different anyway, because this is where I'm talking about my ideas rather than just writing in my strange punctuation. So anyway, I hope you enjoy it, or some people out there enjoy it at least, and hopefully, most of all, I hope this month and in the future it will videos like this will benefit Indigenous people from Australasia especially, and Africa as well. So anyway, here goes. So number 11, I hope to, as I say, benefit Indigenous people from across Australasia and Africa, especially in March, and or in particular in March. And I'd love to see what changes can be made to empower them, and I'd love to discuss what I'd change about my own life and the world and life itself and things like that, like what inventions could be made to make life easier or things like that. It'd be great to see Indigenous people from Australasia and Africa like building things and making things to make their own life and other people's life easier, and hopefully making money from them. But again, from those sorts of things. But again, I'd love to see them empowered in like terms of like supporting them to sell their art, and also like how they could be represented on television, like how shows like Home and Away or Neighbours or other such shows like that could have more people of colour, or especially Indigenous people from across Australasia. Maybe they could even be empowered to make their own TV shows. I think that would be pretty great. And also I'd love to see more Indigenous people from Australasia in politics. Like I'd love to see an Indigenous environmental minister in Australia and itself, and the Torres and Strait Pacific Islanders, or how you pronounce it, and New Zealand and surrounding islands or whatnot. And also like to see 10% of the politicians being Indigenous people from Australasia and in all possible parts of Australasia, the continent. And also like Prime Minister or President of some of those countries being Indigenous Australasians or New Zealanders or whatever in the future. I think that would be pretty great to see. Number 12, I'd love to see like people mentoring Indigenous Australasians, and again like seeing how they can monetize their art so that they actually financially or generally benefit. I think there's happiness is more important than money, in my opinion, but it would still be great to see them benefit financially, which could go to solving some of their problems, like ensuring they get better healthcare, or just generally. I think that you do need a certain amount of money in the world, obviously, to get by. So it would be great to see them, but also just empowered in whatever way would best benefit them, generally speaking, like emotionally and whatnot. Number 13, I think it'd be great if Indigenous people from Australasia tackle some of their problems, but maybe even like made some scary stories or things like that on YouTube or whatnot, or talk about some of their legends or things like that, which hopefully would benefit them in the future. Number 14, I hope they'll find solutions to a lot of their problems they're facing, like with poverty and alcohol problems and other such problems they face, where they can be encouraged to like be empowered, but obey the law, but also be able to solve their own problems, and also have support with people helping them solve problems, and like solve problems around. They could be part of solving problems around the world, like environmentalism or things like that, and hopefully benefit from it themselves a lot as much as possible. Number 15, I'd love to hear from Indigenous people, Indigenous Australasians and Africans, about their aspirations and how their aspirations can be supported so that they can achieve their dreams, reach their goals, and that sort of thing, like whether that's political and like being supported to have political lobby groups, or just generally having a voice, or being supported on YouTube, or again making their own TV shows, or being on television, or things like that, whatever their aspirations might be. Number 16, I'd love to discuss with other people, and like other people who have more experience than me as ever, like supporting, but hopefully by supporting Indigenous Australians, but hopefully by sharing these ideas, more people will come forward with their own ideas, and I can inspire like change. And I'd love to ask people the question, how would you support Indigenous Australians? Of course, not everyone's going to want to support them, but the people who do want to support them, which I think would be an ethical thing to do. I think it'd be great to hear their ideas, like what maybe how they could be involved in Australasian issues or enterprises or whatever else they could be, however else they could be empowered. Sorry. Number 17, I think it'd be great to hear from Indigenous people's stories, and I know they create their own stories through art and things like that, but I think it'd be great to see if they'd be empowered through that art and, again, writing and other such areas, and having a voice, as I say, and like people listening to their voice about what their opinions are about things and things like that. I think that is like starting to happen, but I think it'd be great if it happened more often and more quickly, and so hopefully they'll get as much representation as possible. And I'd love to hear from Indigenous Australasians themselves, like what they think about the plans and what their plans would be, as I say. Number 18, I think it'd be great to learn positive things about Indigenous Australasian culture and African culture, what we can learn from those sorts of cultures or traditions for the future, and like generally what we can learn about them. Again, from a positive point of view, and people talking about what positive things they think and positive stereotypes about Indigenous people, like from Australasia, like and Africa, and changing some of the stereotypes, the negative stereotypes about them, and maybe like provide them with role models and things like that. Number 19, I'd love to support Indigenous Australasians in STEM, as I've talked about before, but I think it'd be great to see STEM programs which help them, especially in tech, but STEM generally, to see what problems they can solve for their own people and for the rest of the world, and like I say, for their communities. And number 20, I'd love to see Indigenous people supported, Indigenous Australasians and Africans supported in software development and other areas of technology, like even game making and things like that. So as ever, I'd love to hear what you think and what your ideas are, and I think that covers everything for now, and I'm out. Peace and love.